Hi everyone, my name is Wana and you are welcome to another edition of Culture Diaries. Today on the program, my guest is a filmmaker, he's a photographer, he is a casting director, a producer, and so many more creative things in between. He's just a pretty much awesome artist. His name is Dafe Oboro. Welcome.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks
You know,
for
they're like a
having me.
superstar now, so I felt very honored. I was like, oh my gosh, she said yes.
Because I'm wearing suit.
No. Oh wow, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of where to start with you. First of all, I'm a massive fan of your work. Massive fan of your work. And I think let me kind of go straight into that. I feel like for someone who hasn't been on the scene for so long,
Yeah.
as a creative person, um, your work has a very distinctive sort of visual language, and oftentimes that, not everybody gets that privilege, I suppose,
Thanks.
instantly
Yeah.
to be able to come in and put work out, and it's very distinctive and continuously within a certain sort of there's certain kind of aesthetic and language that is established from the very beginning, and a certain level of comfort
Mm.
in that language. Like the work feels very settled into what it's trying to say. And I want to ask you about like that and how you came to that place.
I think it's all starts from where you start and how
Mm.
that was for you, wherever you are, whatever you do. I started as a documentary filmmaker, from uni, doing a documentary piece for my thesis,
Mm.
coming back to Nigeria to film a documentary on slum dwellers, and that was my first time ever doing a documentary at all, because coming from a journalism degree and not even being taught how to direct a documentary, like a full length
Mm.
documentary, and we're just literally sent out into the world to learn it as we go. And during that process, I literally fell in love with every process of it, like from the producing to finding the people to filming it to editing it, and it was so real. It felt right. It felt like I was doing something that was very much important, and I had to continue. And that's still very much registered in what I do today. Like my work is very much about reality, my reality, and the reality of people who are around me. I don't live in a bubble, like I always say.
Mm.
And for me, it's almost like when you take a foam and you put it into water, you bring that foam out, it has so much content.
Mm.
And then you squeeze it into another bucket, all of that comes out. I am that foam. And when I move around Lagos, when I move around Nigeria, all of these things that being registered into my mind and into my consciousness, and then I go back home or have a conversation with maybe a client or a colleague, and something is created in that process. It's almost natural.
Mm.
I believe like every human, we do have stories to tell, and for me, if I don't tell the stories that have in some way been soaked into my system, I'll probably be like, I don't know, very tired because like there's so much of me that needs to come out. Now I'm like I said, I'm just like very basic because everything is like everything is like in my work. I'm just like, oh yeah, very relaxed, very basic. Yeah.
I think it's very interesting that you mentioned this thing of reality. Like you
Mm,
mentioned it a few times, and the idea of your work coming from documentary, and so you take that sort of documentary background and still apply it into fictional film,
mm,
and fashion film as
yeah.
well. So I'm thinking of your work like Kilon Shele Gan Gan.
Mm,
I'm also thinking of the Blisco film,
yeah.
and there's something I think I find that what I find sort of beautiful about the work is it's very, very grounded in the reality of the space
Mm,
and of the city. And even when you doing films about fashion and you clothe the people, it doesn't feel like the city is just a backdrop
mm.
or a prop. And I want to know how you are able to sort of really take care of those elements and whether it's a conscious thing for you as well, whether it's something you're consciously thinking about, that, I don't want this city, I don't want these people to just be a prop for these clothes, but I want it to really feel like there needs to be a harmony, that these clothing feels like it exists here anyway.
It does exist. I just flip my camera because that's like today you're looking so beautiful. This is you. You're wearing something.
Yeah.
We're not in the days of Adam and Eve anymore. We actually dress out. Nigerians dress like wherever they're going, weddings, church, meetings, work. And it just takes me to just open my camera and visualize that and put that into my work.
You also said that your background was in journalism,
Yeah.
and so journalism can be very formulaic. Because we both come from that space.
Yeah.
It can be very formulaic. Everything is like this, and such, and then you've become this sort of creative, and in fact, you've become this creative in a multi-hyphenate. Even within journalism, even beyond the fact that it's formulaic, even how people project themselves is always very sort of in a one dimensional sometimes.
Yeah.
And you now move into a space where it's like, I'm going to create in so many different ways. And I want to know, what was it about that flipped the script for you, that said, you know what, even if I come from this space of formula, I need to do things differently?
Well, studying at NTU, doing journalism, broadcast journalism, my lecturers always told us, the students, that we can't really change the rule book of journalism, that it has to be a certain way. So I and my peers would be like, okay, we want to do a news story on maybe like a cancer research charity that has just been set up, but we want to do it in a creative way, with maybe like we interview our mothers, sisters around town, but make it very different from what we see on the regular news channels.
Yeah.
Then we get told that you can't change it. It has to be like this. We go to film it all, but when we come to the newsroom, they're literally like standing behind us like, nah, you're cutting it too much. What's that? Remove it. So it has to be, it's so it was so restrictive for me. And even I did internship and all of that, but then I was like, no, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And the only thing I took away from journalism was the need to balance a story. The need to tell it like it is.
Okay.
No polishing. It has to be raw. It has to say the truth. And then in school, they used to call me, not they, just one person used to call me because Emmanuel is my second name, and what I used to be called in uni. Why do you like hard stories? Like, why don't you do a story on Pizza Day or Cats Day? I'm like, well, sorry.
This is a Nigerian in you. It's like, pizza, cats, what is that? Please. Please.
Literally, that was what I told her. And she was
like, my life is too grimy for this.
I would do stories on like cancer research, community protection, bullying around town, and all of that. And she would do stories on World Pizza Day, World.
Why is this taking me back to my own school days?
This pub thing.
Pop culture, yeah.
Pop culture. So she would report on that, and she'd be like, "Man, how do I cut this?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Gio, this reminds me of, I remember at school myself, again, when I was in journalism school, and we're giving this assignment to write a feature, and my friend, my colleague was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna write about," she was like, "I'm just gonna write about Christmas shopping," and I was just like, "What are you writing about?" I was like, "Oh, female genital mutilation." Exactly the hardness of that. Oh gosh. I mean, we can have these stories for days, but I think there's something that, but I mean, what it also means that there's an imprint that the city has on you, that Lagos has on you.
Yeah.
And is Lagos your muse?
It is. And it's where I am right now. I feel like if you put me anywhere, if you put me in Delta State, if you put me in Accra, Ghana, if you take me back to London, my work will be very much informed based on where
Mm.
I am at
Yeah.
that particular moment. And for now, I'm in Lagos,
Mm.
and it's all about my experience. It's all about the people around me, the people I see, and their experience as well.
What is it about the city that enchants you? Because I mean, it does inform a lot of the work
Yeah.
that you do. Whether it's the grittiness, whether it's the cacophony of it. I feel like that always comes through in every single thing that you film and you make. So what is it?
It's like a person. There's a good and bad sides of us as humans. So like
Mm.
Lagos, I see it as, it can be beautiful and frustrating at the same time.
Mm.
And in all of that, there's something. I just really can't explain it, but there's a beauty of it. There's the beauty of the struggle. Basically, there's a beauty of that
The struggle.
struggle.
You're also part of a generation of young artists who I think who are multi hyphenates. I mean, I feel like coming from, if I think of sort of myself and where I'm coming from, and the emphasis on what is the thing that you're doing, or which one are you most passionate about, and there's always been an emphasis on concentrating on one or being focused on one thing and all of that. But I feel like you exist in a generation where being a multi hyphenate is nothing new. You can shift from medium to medium without. And I'm wondering if you do get any questions or any backlash, or even for you internally, if you have any conflict where you think, oh, do I need to focus on one thing or another thing?
Yeah, I do get that a lot. Like even a question like, oh, what do you prefer, filming or producing? I feel like sometimes it's okay to just step back and watch another person be the artist and you just be the organizer.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy that a lot. But being able to be the one who call the shots and be the eye of that project or that work. It's very important. But yeah, I don't get a lot of backlash. I think it's more of like a personal thing where I get to ask myself like, which one do I actually love doing, and which one do I actually, not so much put all my effort and all my creative self in. So that
Do you still have that internal conflict with yourself?
yeah, I do.
Why do you think you do though? Do you think is the Nigerian background in you, or do you ever worry that maybe it means that you are not going to be a specialist in something or an expert in something? I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
just curious.
they need to be better or something, right? They need to, yeah.
Because I know I deal with that sometimes where I love doing so many things. And then I have those days where I'm thinking, am I going to be able to be the best at one of those things because I'm splitting my energy in different ways? So I don't know. I'm wondering if you feel that way
I mean,
sometimes.
sometimes when I go on set, I don't just go as a filmmaker. I go as a producer and as a filmmaker. And most times I go as three of them. I'm directing, I'm producing, and I'm casting, which is my recent film, which is A
Yeah.
Beautiful Struggle.
Yes.
I did casting, I produced, I directed, and I edited. So it definitely can be overwhelming, and you don't really question yourself at that point. You come out of that situation, and you're like, I think I did casting better than I directed, or I think I should have done better in the producing
Yeah.
aspect. So yeah, it is good in some way,
Yeah.
because then it allows you to refocus and lay out your values and like lay out your strengths as well. So yeah.
Wow. Let's also talk about moving forward for you. What are some of the kinds of work that you're interested in doing?
Hmm. I want to make a short film that has like more dialogues,
Okay.
and maybe a feature film, like a movie. But yeah, to get to this.
And these are some of your bigger ambitions.
Yeah, and I also want to do a stage play because
Oh,
in
wow.
primary school I was known as the boy who can dance more than the girls. Not even like break dance, like atilogo where when you go on the floor and you're like, so like yeah, I need to tap into that part of me because it's been forever. So I want to do something that it's live. People can come see it, and it can be filmed live as well, like all happening in one stay. The same way I tell my stories when it's edited and put out online, but this one in a more um, personal way.
Do you feel like Nigerians embrace and enjoy your work? Why that laugh?
When I started, it was like we've seen it before. I mean, we are here, so why should we watch your film? We know that's Ojo Lagba. We know that's Yellow Boss, but yeah, the stories I tell it goes beyond Yellow Boss, and I try to remove that Yellow Boss aspect and Yellow Keke
Yeah.
aspect because that's not the kind of Nigerian story I'm trying to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a comment one day saying, "Oh, I don't really like how they pictured Lagos with the film I did with Blisco,"
Okay.
and that made me sad. But then I came back to it and I'm like, well, I didn't make the film for you because the film itself it's not fake. It is telling a story, and those who can relate would say, yes, I have experienced this. I have lived this kind of life before, or this is me.
Yeah.
They can find a connection. And the film does not just focus on, mainland lifestyle. Like with every footage, even with bathing and pouring water on yourself
Yeah.
and just looking good, you can in some way connect maybe with the water or the sponge and the foam, and you take your bath, so
Yeah.
you find a connection to that, and that's what I want my film to be about. People finding a connection, no matter how small. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people do not appreciate that because they're here, so
Yeah.
like we don't see I'm finished. So why should we follow it?
But then, do you think that there is also a preoccupation with trying to revise the image of Nigeria for especially for people who are viewing art, right? So, I mean, as I said, something about your work is it's very, very, very raw. The images are very, very visual about, and it's a certain part of Lagos that is a certain Lagos that you're exploring
Yeah.
and showing, right? And then there's always a kind of backlash to that where it's like we don't we're like we're not all like that, or and but why do you think there's always some kind of pushback? Because as people there is a multiplicity of experiences. We experience the wealth, we experience the the drudgery, but then it seems it's always kind of one or the other.
Think of it this way: if we have basically every film showing Ikoyi Link Bridge, people like me or people who come from where I come from will not be able to relate because I don't live in Ikoyi.
Yeah.
That's not my reality.
Yeah.
So do you, I do me. I'm representing a certain group of people. And in my film, you, even whether you live in Lekki, Ikoyi, you will still find a connection to that because there's no yellow bus, it's a story
Yeah.
that connects us all. I mean, I saw a video yesterday on Twitter saying this is Lagos, like the title of the video,
Yeah.
this is Lagos, and the video only showed the beautiful places of Lagos, like Ikoyi, Lekki, Victoria Island. There was all these backlash comments of like people saying, where is Yanokbaja? Where is Ikorodu? Where is Ajegule? Where
Yeah.
is Yaba? Where is Oshodi? Because if you're going to put a title as This is Lagos on your project, it should in fact represent the whole
Yeah.
of Lagos. Maybe that piece should be retitled to This is Lagos Island, or these are the beautiful parts of Lagos, or this is the more modern parts of Lagos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to also just ask very quickly about the extractive nature of because like sometimes in journalism specifically there can be a very extractive nature to it, and the same, and it also happens in filmmaking and storytelling, and where people feel that people are just taking from communities or using communities. How are you able to tell these stories? Because you said this is story, these are the stories you tell are stories from where you're from. They're
Yeah.
the people who you grew up with, you
Yeah.
know. And how are you able to do that without it feeling exploitative? Is that
Yeah.
something you think about? Or do you feel like because this is where I'm from, I have a right to tell the stories in the ways that I want to?
Yeah, I think that as well. Being in that space where those people live or where those people have lived gives you some kind of rights to be able to tell the stories, especially when they're not in the position to do so. And I don't go around asking them like, "What's your story?
Mm.
Let me write it down." I just be, and because I don't have to. I don't have to flip a camera to do research. I just be in that environment and it comes to me. I hear their voices shouting, probably beating one of the daughters
Oh
or
gosh.
screaming someone for someone to go and buy food or NEPA cutting light and everyone shouting. So all of that, there's a lot of drama going on around me. And
Mm.
I just soak that in and try to implement that in my work. So I don't think it's exploitation. It
Yeah.
would be if I'm not of that environment.
Mm.
That's why I said, take me anywhere. My work would be reflective of where I am at that
Yeah.
particular moment.
You've been you're one of Days and Confuses 100. What I mean for you, being a creative in this time, you're celebrated as well. What does that mean for you? And what do you feel like that means for other young creative people like yourself in living and working in this time?
Hmm. I never really thought of being where I am today. I mean, from being that little boy who used to sketch stories for my classmates, and they all gather me, and I just draw these women and tell, being influenced by Nollywood and just like tell all this witchcraft movie on just by drawing the characters and um, finishing primary, secondary, uni, and wanting to be a presenter, wanting to be a fashion designer, wanting to be so many things. I never thought that this moment will come. And yeah, even moments that have um, somehow happened, especially like the Beyonce
Yes, we
project.
need to talk about it. We're not talking about it, but
I just have to touch on it
yeah, we
small.
just had to touch on it that he worked on the Beyonce film. So Black is King.
Yeah. So you're sitting in your house and you get a call or an email and you're like, wait, what? So that's my life. Like
Yeah.
every moment, everything that has happened has been, wait, what? Because I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
And I feel like it has something to do about being authentic
Okay.
and being real with yourself and comfortable in your own character and comfortable in the characters that you portray in your work.
You mentioned Nollywood, and I think you worked on Mew Mew Babes,
Yeah.
um, and and I think that there is a nostalgia that runs through a lot of your work, and I want to know why that sort of nostalgia is important to you.
Mm. I mean, we all grew up watching Nollywood, the old Nollywood,
Yes.
where Jamaica would probably like say all this is American accent.
American
Like,
accent.
man. Or Genevieve being the goddess of our screen, and Omotola just being the innocent
I
one.
love it. You're so into it.
Or Dakore and all of them. Just like I would trek from my compound with my sisters to another street to rent home videos, or rent like part one, part two, part three of Blood Sisters. Or watch it from morning till night, then give the TV to my parents to watch whatever they want to watch. So like being influenced by that growing up, and I didn't for me, but I didn't want to show basically what old Nollywood was or what Nollywood that it is. What I just wanted to. There was no mood board,
Yeah.
so basically I just created based on my past knowledge and my
Okay.
past experience. So yeah, Agbalumo.
Why?
Because it's sweet and it's bitter at the same time. It slaps.
It does slap.
Yeah. You like it and you don't like it. And I think that's my person. I like this song that was produced by Ray Olu. I can't remember his surname. Ginger Me.
Oh, yeah, yes. Somi.
Yeah, Somi.
Yes.
Was produced by
Ginger Me,
yeah.
yes. Ray
Ginger Me
Olunuga.
boy, Olunuga, yeah.
Ginger Me with
Slowly,
pillow
yeah.
talks and pretty things.
I'm easy like that. From my mom, do fast. I came back from school and I was crying that school was not first year. I didn't do well. So my mom was like, no, because you need to do fast. They do fast. Like if they give you assignment, do them fast. And that has somehow influenced me in producing. Like,
So nice.
we want to do this project. I'd say yes before anything else.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The live was not so easy. You have to like work for it. And you don't get to say, I just want to sleep. You can rest, but then you still have to get up and work. No one does it for you. I mean, growing up, my parents will go out, they'll work, they'll provide food. No one told me that at some point in my life, I will literally be doing everything on my own.
Bruh, adulthood.
Charlie. I mean, when you see your family, your sister, it's like, okay, when I grow up, maybe they'll still be, supported. I mean, the support is still there, but you have to still stand up as your own person to do stuff anyway. Earn your own cash. Yes, it can. Today I was listening to the radio and a man called and was like, youths today are lazy because they're not politically active. And I'm like, why are they not talking about the creatives? Because there are a lot of us who are actually putting in the work in every detail of the pieces that we put out there. It's in some way provoking the thoughts of our politicians, provoking the thoughts of people in power, and acting and causing change. So yeah, I think it's possible.
Thank you, Dafe.
Thank you, Anna.
Appreciate you being here. High five. And we have come to the end of this edition of Culture Diaries. Big thank you, of course, to our guest, Dafe Oboro, for blessing us with his amazingness and all his art as well. Thank you goes to Sus Productions for giving us their wonderful studio. And a big thank you to the Goethe Institut for supporting this episode of the program. Until next time, remember, art is life. Bye.